The heel snapped under Isaac's weight like a bone cracking in the dead of night, sending him sprawling across the polished oak floor of his family's old brownstone in Brooklyn. "You're not my son anymore," his father's voice echoed from the top of the stairs. Not a shout but a verdict, cold as the winter wind rattling the panes. In that instant, as blood trickled from his split lip and the scattered photos fluttered like dying leaves, each one doctored, his face smudged out like a ghost, Isaac realized the triplets' shared reflection had always been a lie. And he was the shadow they couldn't afford to keep. It started with the mirrors. 3 identical faces staring back from the vanity in their childhood bedroom. Back when the Hargrove triplets were the talk of the neighborhood, Ethan, Noah, and Isaac, born minutes apart under a harvest moon in 1997. The kind of miracle that made front-page news in the Brooklyn Eagle. Their mother, Claire, used to say they were God's perfect trinity, her voice thick with that old Irish lilt she'd never shaken, even after 30 years in the States. But perfection, Isaac learned early, came with a price tag: conformity. The eldest by 2 minutes, was the golden boy, captain of the high school debate team. Now a rising prosecutor in Manhattan with a corner office and a fiancée who looked like she'd stepped out of a J.Crew catalog. No, the middle one channeled his restlessness into the family construction business, broad-shouldered and beer-bellied at 28. The guy who fixed your leaky roof and cracked jokes about the Mets over backyard barbecues. And Isaac, the youngest, the afterthought, the one who lingered too long in front of the makeup aisle at Duane Reade, who slipped into his sister's heels when no one was looking and felt, for the first time, like the skin he was born in might actually fit. They'd grown up in that brownstone on Pacific Street, a relic from the 20s with creaky stairs and walls papered in faded florals. The kind of place that screamed old money pretending to be middle class. Their father, Harlan Hargrove, was a retired cop-turned-security consultant, all bluff and bluster, with a mustache that hid his perpetual scowl. Sundays were sacred, mass at St. Friends. Then roast beef in the dining room. The triplets lined up like soldiers in identical button-downs. But by 16, the cracks showed. Ethan aced his SATs. Noah punched out a bully who called them freak clones, Isaac. Isaac came home from prom with glitter on his eyelids and a hickey from a boy named Javier in the chem lab. Harlan found out. The beating wasn't with fists, those were saved for perps on the job, but with words. Sharp as switchblades, "You're a disgrace to this family." A goddamn embarrassment. That night, Isaac slept in the attic, heels clutched to his chest like a talisman, while downstairs, Ethan and Noah ate pie in silence, their faces mirrors of his but their eyes averted. Fast forward 12 years, and the erasure had become an art form. Isaac scrolled through the family group chat one rainy Tuesday, nursing a black coffee in his shoebox apartment in Bushwick, the kind of place where the radiator clanged like a bad hangover and the walls were tagged with street art that screamed, "Fuck the system." There it was, a digital scrapbook from Aunt Maggie's birthday bash last weekend, photos beaming with Hargrove pride. Ethan arm in arm with Lila, his bride-to-be, both grinning like they'd invented happiness. Noah hoisting a beer with Harlan, the old man's arms slung around his shoulder in that rare display of paternal warmth. And in the background of every shot, cropped out, blurred, or photoshopped into oblivion, Isaac. He'd been there, heels swapped for loafers at their insistence, nursing a gin and tonic and laughing too loud at Uncle Ray's bad puns. But now, vanished. Like he'd never existed. The fury hit him like a subway gust, hot and unrelenting. He slammed his phone down, the screen cracking against the Formica counter. "Fuck you," he muttered to the empty room. But it wasn't enough. He needed to see it in print, tangible as the scar on his knuckle from that prom night brawl. Grabbing his coat, a thrift store leather number that smelled faintly of someone else's regrets, he bolted for the brownstone, the November chill biting through his jeans like accusatory fingers. The streets of Brooklyn blurred past, hipsters with man buns hustling to yoga, bodega cats eyeing him from stoops, the distant wail of an ambulance that could have been for him, for all he knew. By the time he pounded on the door, his breath came in ragged bursts, and the tears he'd been choking back since Javier ghosted him senior year threatened to spill. Claire answered, her face crumpling like wet tissue. "Isaac." "Honey." "What?" But he shoved past her, boots tracking mud across the Persian rug, straight to the mantel where the family albums sat like dusty Bibles. He yanked one down, pages fanning open to their baptism photos, 3 cherubic faces in christening gowns, halos of curls identical. But flip forward to graduations, Thanksgivings, the Triplets' 21st at Coney Island, and there he was, fading. A thumbprint over his smile in one, a hasty crop in another. By the time they hit 25, entire spreads redone with just 2 faces. "Why?" he demanded, voice cracking as Harlan lumbered in from the kitchen, apron dusted with flour from his famous apple pie. Ethan and Noah trailed behind, summoned by the commotion, their expressions a matched set of wary caution. "It's for the best, son," Harlan rumbled, crossing his arms over his barrel chest. "You know how people talk. The business, the church, can't have folks whispering about this." He gestured vaguely at Isaac's ripped jeans, the subtle liner around his eyes that he'd forgotten to wipe off that morning. "You're my blood. But blood don't mean you get a free pass to parade around like some drag queen in a sideshow." The room went still, the only sound the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. Ethan's jaw tightened. He was the diplomat, always smoothing edges. "Come on. Isaac's family. We don't erase family." But his eyes flicked to Noah, who stared at the floor, fists clenched like he was holding back a storm. "Noah. The quiet one. The fixer." He'd always been Isaac's shadow in the womb. Or so the doctors joked, closest in birth order, closest in secrets. They'd shared a room until college. Whispered confessions under the covers about girls who didn't call back. About the pressure of being the other one, not Ethan the star. But Noah had buried his doubts deep. Married a girl from the parish named Becca. Popped out a kid named Little Harlan who was already obsessed with toy trucks. There were nights, boozy ones after construction shifts, when Noah would text Isaac at 2 a.m., "Miss the old days?" When it was just us against the world. Isaac clung to that, the one thread binding him to the trio they'd once been. "You're cowards," Isaac spat now, slamming the album shut. "All of you. Sharing my face, my blood, but pretending I'm the monster under the bed." She turned to Clara, who wrung her hands, eyes pleading. "Mom, you too?" Every photo, every memory, poof. Like I was the miscarriage that got away. Her lip trembled. "It's not like that. I swear. Your father. He thinks he's protecting us. The world out there. It's cruel to boys like you. Boys like you." The phrase landed like a slap, echoing the shrinks she'd dragged him to after the incident, as they called it, the one where Isaac, at 14, got jumped behind the gym for holding hands with a classmate. Therapy sessions in a strip mall office, where the doctor droned about internalized homophobia while Clara nodded along, her rosary beads clicking like judgment. Ethan stepped forward, hand on Isaac's shoulder, a mirror image, down to the freckle above the left eyebrow. Let's talk this out. Dinner? My treat. Lila's been asking about you, but Isaac shrugged him off, the touch burning like betrayal. Dinner? Where I sit invisible again. Bitter and hollow. I'm done being the triplet no one claims. He stormed out, the door banging like a gunshot, leaving the brownstone to swallow its silence. The rain had picked up, soaking him to the bone as he trudged toward the F train. His phone buzzed. Clara, come back. Please. We love you. Beloved. He thought. Shouldn't come with an eraser. That night, in the dim glow of his apartment, Isaac did what he always did when the world sharpened its claws. He dressed up. Not for show. Not for the clubs in the village where queens lip-synced to Gaga under disco balls. No. This was private. A ritual. He slipped into the black stilettos, the ones with the red soles that made his calves ache in the best way, paired with a silk blouse that whispered against his skin like a lover's breath. In the full-length mirror scavenged from a stoop sale, he saw himself, not the Hargrove ghost, but Isaac, lips painted crimson, eyes lined with kohl that amplified the hurt, hair tousled just so. He poured a glass of cheap Merlot and cranked up Nina Simone, her voice a velvet knife through Feeling Good. For 2 hours, he danced alone, heels clicking against the warped floorboards, letting the rhythm chase out the ache. Until the knock came, insistent, 3 raps like Morse code for trouble. He froze. Mitral. Heart hammering. Peering through the peephole, he saw him, Jude, the barista from the coffee shop downstairs with the tattoos snaking up his neck and a smile that could melt barbed wire. They'd flirted for months, stolen glances over oat milk lattes, Jude's fingers brushing Isaac's as he handed over the change. That one time he'd whispered, "You look like you could use a real drink after that shift." But Jude was straight edge. Or so the grapevine said, vegan, activist, the kind of guy who marched for BLM and kissed girls at poetry slams. Or was he? Isaac cracked the door, heel still on, wine glass dangling from his fingers. Jude's eyes widened, taking in the ensemble, not with shock, but something hotter, hungrier. Heard the music, Jude said, voice low, rain dripping from his hoodie. Thought maybe you needed company. Or backup. Saw you storm out of that brownstone earlier, looked like war. Isaac's laugh was half-sob. You stalking me now? Barista boy. But he stepped aside, letting Jude in, the air thickening with possibility. Jude shrugged off his wet jacket, revealing a faded Ramones tee stretched across lean muscle. And for a moment, the room felt too small, too charged. They talked, or rather, Isaac spilled, about the photos, the family, the endless loop of hiding. Jude listened, perched on the edge of the sagging couch, his dark eyes never leaving Isaac's face. That's some bullshit, he said finally, when Isaac trailed off, voice raw. Erasing you? That's not love. That's fear dressed up as piety. And then, without warning, Jude closed the distance, his hand cupping Isaac's jaw, gentle, but firm, thumb tracing the line of liner-smudged coal. "You're beautiful," he murmured, the words landing like absolution. Their lips met, tentative at first, then fierce. Jude's fingers tangling in Isaac's hair as if anchoring him to the earth. Isaac tasted salt, his own tears, Jude's rain, and for the first time in years. The heels didn't feel like armor, they felt like wings. They tumbled onto the bed in a mess of limbs and laughter, clothes shedding like old skin. Jude's body was a map of stories, scars from skateboarding fails, ink from protests in Ferguson, and Isaac traced them with reverent fingers, whispering questions between kisses. "Bi-curious," Jude admitted, breath hitching as Isaac's hand ventured lower. "Or maybe just you curious. Always thought you were fire under that quiet. It was messy, urgent, hands exploring, gasps echoing off the brick walls, but beneath it, a tenderness that scared Isaac more than the ecstasy." As they lay spent, Jude's head on his chest, Isaac stared at the ceiling cracks, wondering if this was the start of something or just another erasure waiting to happen. Morning light sliced through the blinds like accusations, painting Jude's sleeping form in stripes of gold and shadow. Isaac watched him for a long beat, heels discarded by the bed like fallen soldiers, his own bare feet tangled in the sheets. It had been years since he'd let anyone stay over, since Javier, who'd promised forever and vanished after graduation, leaving Isaac with a hollow chest and a tattoo he'd gotten on a whim in the East Village. Jude stirred, mumbling something about more coffee, and rolled closer, his arm draping possessively over Isaac's waist. For a heartbeat, it felt real, two bodies fitting like puzzle pieces, no mirrors to mock the illusion. But reality crashed in with the buzz of Isaac's phone, a text from Noah. "We need to talk. Alone. Meet me at the yard? 10 a.m. The construction yard, their old haunt, where they'd skip stones across oil-slicked puddles as kids and dream of escaping Brooklyn's chokehold. Isaac's stomach nodded. Noah never initiated without reason, and alone meant no Ethan to play referee. He slipped out of bed, Jude murmuring protests, and dressed in yesterday's clothes, the silk blouse wrinkled but defiant. "Family crap," he explained, kissing Jude's forehead. "The kind that sticks like tar." Jude propped on an elbow, hair a glorious mess. "Want me to come?" Moral support. His eyes held that activist fire, the kind that had gotten him arrested twice for chaining himself to trees in the Pine Barrens. Isaac hesitated, tempted, but terrified. Introducing Jude meant claiming him, and claiming anything in the Hargrove orbit meant risking the burn. "This one's mine." He lingered in the doorway, heels in hand like contraband. "But dinner? Tonight? Somewhere loud, where no one can hear us fight." Jude grinned, that lopsided thing that made Isaac's knees weak. "Deal." "Bring the heels." The yard was a graveyard of steel beams and rusted rebar under a slate-gray sky, the East River churning nearby like it was plotting an escape. Paul was there, leaning against a forklift, his work boots caked in mud, flannel shirt rolled to the elbows revealing forearms roped with muscle from hauling lumber. He looked every inch the straight arrow brother, beer gut straining his belt, wedding ring glinting dully, but his eyes, those identical hazel mirrors, were bloodshot. Shut. "You look like shit," Isaac said by way of greeting, dropping onto a crate beside him. The air smelled of diesel and damp earth, A scent that dragged him back to boyhood summers, building forts from scrap while Ethan bossed them around. Noah snorted, offering a thermos of coffee, folding. Just how Isaac liked it. Kettle. What's with the raccoon eyes? Rough night. There was the old rhythm, Noah probing without pushing. The brother who'd covered for him when Harlan found the heels hidden in the basement. Blaming it on a yard sale mix-up. Isaac took a swig, the bitterness grounding him. You saw the photos, didn't you? Maggie's party. I'm the invisible man. He waited for denial, for Noah to spin it soft. But his brother just nodded, slow and heavy. Yeah. Dad's doing. Mostly. Hired some kid from the community center to fix the albums last month. Said it was for the family image. Noah spat the last words like they tasted foul. I told him to knock it off. But you know how he gets. And Ethan? He's got that promotion riding on schmoozing the bishop's nephew. Church connections? All that. The admission hung between them, thicker than the fog rolling off the water. Isaac's chest tightened, not just anger, but a deeper ache. The kind that wondered if blood really was thicker than the ink of those doctored pages. And you? Just watched it happen? My face? Your face? Gone because I like dick and a good pair of Louboutins. Noah flinched, rubbing his jaw. It's not that simple. Becca's pregnant again, number 2. And the business? We're drowning in bids from those hipster developers flipping brownstones into herbs. One whiff of scandal, and poof, Hargrove Construction's toast. He paused, voice dropping. But that's no excuse. I should have fought harder. I wanted to burn the damn albums myself. Isaac studied him, searching for the lie in those shared features, the faint scar on the chin from a bike crash at 10, the way his left eyebrow arched when he was holding back. Nothing. Just Noah, frayed at the edges. The middle triplet who'd always played peacemaker until it broke him. Why now? Why text me after all this? Because of this. Noah pulled a crumpled envelope from his pocket, yellowed at the edges, postmarked from their old parish. The letter, typed on church stationery, addressed to Harlan. Isaac skimmed it. Father O'Malley's concern about rumors regarding one of the Hargrove boys and certain immoral associations. The date? 2 weeks ago. They know about you. Or suspect. And Dad's talking about cutting you out of the will entirely. To protect the legacy, he says. The words blurred. Isaac's hands shaking. Legacy. As if he hadn't poured his soul into night classes at Kingsborough. Scraping by as a freelance graphic designer. Creating album covers for indie bands that screamed queer anthems. As if his life, messy, vibrant, heels and all, wasn't legacy enough. Let him. I'm done begging for scraps. Noah's hand clamped on his shoulder. Grip iron. You're not scraps. You're us, the part we pretend doesn't exist so we can sleep at night. His voice cracked. And for a second, Isaac saw it, the flicker of something unspoken in Noah's eyes. A mirror not just of face but fracture. Was it guilt? From what? The air thickened, charged like before a squall, and Noah's thumb brushed Isaac's collarbone, innocent, or not, before he pulled away, clearing his throat. Fight this. With me. We'll show Dad the originals. Make him see. Isaac wanted to believe it, to grab that thread and pull until the whole tapestry unraveled into truth. but doubt not. Sharp as stilettos. But, so you can feel less like the coward in the middle? Noah's face crumpled, and he stood abruptly, kicking at a loose pebble. Because I love you, idiot. More than blood. More than, he cut off, turning toward the river, shoulders hunched against the wind. Isaac rose, heels dangling from his fingers like an afterthought, and for a moment, he almost bridged the gap, almost let the old twin bond snap back into place. But then his phone chimed. Jude, can't wait for tonight. Where the red ones dot, and the world tilted toward possibility, away from the yard's ghosts. They parted with a rough hug, Noah muttering, "Don't be a stranger," and Isaac promising nothing. Back in Bushwick, the apartment hummed with Jude's absence, but his scent lingered on the pillows, patchouli and rain. Isaac spent the afternoon sketching jagged lines of family portraits, faces halved and quartered, heels sprouting from cracked foundations like defiant weeds. By dusk, he was ready, red stilettos gleaming, a fitted vest that hugged his frame, eyeliner sharp as his resolve. Dinner at that hole-in-the-wall Italian joint in Williamsburg, where the candles flickered like secrets and the wine flowed red as confessions. Jude was waiting at the corner table, sleeves rolled up to show the tattoos Isaac was starting to memorize, a phoenix on one forearm, no justice, no peace curling around his bicep. "You clean up dangerous," Jude teased, eyes darkening as they traced the heels peeking from under the tablecloth. Over plates of cacio e pepe and tiramisu, they dove deep. Jude's upbringing in the Bronx, foster kid turned community organizer, Isaac's dreams of exhibiting his art in Chelsea galleries, portraits of queer invisibility that would make the Hargroves choke on their pot roast. Laughter came easy, then touches, Jude's knee against his, fingers interlacing across the checkered cloth. But midway through the second glass of Chianti, Jude's expression shifted, that activist edge sharpening. "Heard about your family's bullshit." Noah mentioned it to Becca, who knows my sister from yoga. Isaac's fork paused. How small was this damn city? But Jude pressed on. "It's not right. We could rally, get the community behind you, expose the erasure." Imagine the headlines: Brooklyn family airbrushes gay son from history. Power to the people? Right. Isaac's pulse quickened. Not just from the wine. Exposure meant validation, but also war, Harlan's rage, Ethan's calculated fallout, Noah's fragile bridge crumbling. It's tempting. Good. It is. But there's still my blood. Messed up? But mine. He squeezed Jude's hand, the warmth seeping into his bones. "Besides, I've got you now." That's louder than any protest. Jude's smile was slow, searing. Damn right. They left arm in arm, the night alive with neon and possibility, heels clicking a defiant rhythm on the cobblestones. Back at the apartment, it was slower this time, exploration over urgency, Jude's lips mapping Isaac's collarbone, whispers of stay and mine blurring the line between lust and love. As they drifted off, tangled and sated, Isaac dreamed of mirrors shattering, reflections multiplying until the triplets stood whole, heels and all. The betrayal came wrapped in velvet, like a gift you unwrap to find thorns. 2 weeks later, Valentine's Day, cheesy? Commercial? But Jude insisted on romance, a rooftop picnic in McCarran Park, blankets and bodega champagne under a sky bruised purple. Isaac arrived in his favorite ensemble, emerald heels that made his legs look endless. A cashmere sweater soft as Jude's gaze. They toasted to us against the erasers, Jude's arm around his waist. The city sprawling below like a canvas begging for their story. For the first time, Isaac let himself believe in it, a future where family photos included him, where love didn't demand invisibility. But the next morning, as snow dusted the fire escapes, Isaac's phone lit up with a voicemail from Ethan. "Call me. It's about Noah." The prosecutor's tone was clipped. "Urgent? No frills?" "Nope, bro." Isaac's gut twisted. He slipped into jeans and sneakers, heels tucked away like shame, and met Ethan at a diner off Atlantic Avenue. The kind with vinyl boots sticky from decades of spills and waitresses who called you hon. Ethan slid into the booth opposite, tie loosened, face drawn under the fluorescent buzz. No small talk. Noah's in trouble. Bad. He pushed a manila folder across the Formica, printouts from the yard's security cams. Timestamps from last Thursday. Isaac's blood ran cold before he even flipped it open, grainy footage of Noah, alone in the office trailer after hours, hunched over the desk with a bottle of Jack and photos. Not the family albums, but candids, snapped on his phone. Isaac realized with a lurch. Him at last pride. Sequins catching the light, a blurry shot from the club. Heels mid-kick, one from their coffee runs. Eyeliner smudged. Laughing with Jude. And worse, audio snippets. Noah's voice slurring into the recorder app. Can't stop thinking about it, about him. Should have said something years ago. What if I'm? The file cut off. But the implication clawed deep. Noah? Wrestling demons Isaac had never suspected. What the hell is this? Isaac hissed, shoving the folder back. His hands trembled. Coffee untouched. The diner's sizzle of bacon mocking the nausea rising in his throat. Ethan leaned in, voice low. Found it on his phone last night. Becca's been suspicious, late nights. The drinking. She called me in a panic, thinking it's an affair. With a woman. He paused, eyes flicking to the window where flurries danced. But it's you. The idea of you. He's spiraling. Talking about quitting the business. Moving out. Dad's furious, caught wind somehow. Thinks it's that fag influence rubbing off. The slur landed like a gut punch. But Isaac barely registered it over the roar in his ears. His mirror. His confidant, harboring this? The touches that lingered too long. The 2 a.m. Texts laced with ache. Not just brotherly love, but something twisted, unspoken, blooming in the dark corners of their shared DNA. And now, it poisoned everything. You tell him? Confront him? Ethan shook his head. Jotted. Not yet. Becca wants a divorce if it's whatever this is. And Harlan? He's already lawyering up, talking conservatorship or some bullshit to save the family. We need you to back off. For Noah's sake. Let him sort this without your lifestyle in his face. Lifestyle. The word was a blade, slicing through the fragile hope Isaac had stitched together with Jude. Back off? Like I'm the fucking plague? This is your mess. Ethan, the golden boy's blind spot. You let Dad erase me, now Noah's paying for peeking behind the curtain. Ethan's face hardened. That prosecutor's mask slipping into place. We're triplets. One face. One fate. You drag us into your drama. We all drown. He stood, tossing a 20 on the table. Think about it. For once, the bell above the door jingled his exit, leaving Isaac adrift in the diner's grease-scented limbo. He didn't go home. Couldn't face Jude's questions, the warmth that now felt like a trap. Instead, he wandered into the blizzard, sneakers sodden, toward the brownstone. Harlan was in the living room, nursing a scotch by the fire, the mantle albums stacked like evidence. Clara hovered in the kitchen, radio crooning Sinatra, but she froze when Isaac burst in, snow melting into puddles at his feet. "Dad," Isaac started, voice steel despite the quake in his chest. "We end this. The photos. The lies. Or I walk, for good." Harlan's eyes narrowed, mustache twitching. "Boy, you think you can waltz in here? Demanding? After what your brother's going through because of you." He rose. The cop in him surfacing. "Noah's a mess, booze, women troubles, and it's your fault." Parading that filth, turning heads. Isaac's laugh was feral. "My fault? For existing? For loving who I love?" He snatched an album, hurling it open, pages splaying to a wedding shot from Ethan's engagement party. Noah's arm around Becca. Isaac cropped to a shoulder. "You did this. Erased me so you could pretend your sons are saints." Clara gasped, hand to her mouth. But Harlan advanced, finger jabbing. "Saints? We're human. Damn it. And humans don't survive with weak links. Noah's weak because he sees himself in you, thinks he can. Experiment. Like it's a phase." The word hung, venomous. And Isaac reeled, visions of Noah's slurred confessions flashing like strobe lights. "You're the weak one," Isaac shot back, tears hot on his cheeks. "Hiding behind God and legacy because facing us, real us, would shatter your mirror." He turned to Clara, pleading. "Mom, say something." She stepped forward, rosary forgotten, and cupped his face, identical hands, but hers trembling. "Oh, my boy. I see you. Always have." But her eyes darted to Harlan, apology in the flicker. "But family. We don't break." The defeat tasted like ash. Isaac fled to the attic, the old sanctuary, where dust motes danced in the slanted light. In a trunk of forgotten relics, he found it, a shoebox of unedited photos. Clara's secret rebellion. Smiling triplets at 6. Mud-caked and whole, teens at the beach. Arms slung casual, Isaac at 20. Heels on. Blowing a kiss to the camera. Noah behind the lens. Grin wide. Proof. But holding it felt hollow. A relic from a war already lost. The front door slammed, no doubt, to broker peace. Isaac slipped out the back, into the whitening world, heels calling from his bag like sirens. He texted Jude, "Need you." By the time he reached Bushwick, numb and shaking, Jude was there, door flung open, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of home. "What happened?" Jude murmured, guiding him to the couch, wrapping him in a quilt stitched from protest banners. Isaac spilled it all, the folder, the confrontation, Noah's hidden hunger twisting their bond into something grotesque. Jude listened, fury etching his features, but his touch stayed steady, grounding. "This isn't on you," he said finally, cupping Isaac's chin. "Families like yours, they're the real monsters. Feeding on silence. But you're the light they can't touch." They made love that night, fierce and reclaiming, Jude's body a shield. Isaac's cries muffled into pillows, but dawn brought the call that shattered it all. "Becca." Voice shrill over speaker. "You ruined him. You sick fuck." Noah's gone, packed a bag. Left a note saying he's exploring. "Because of you." Dead air. Isaac stared at the phone. World tilting. Jude reached for him, but Isaac recoiled. Heels scattering across the floor like accusations. "She thinks we." The implication choked him, Noah's fixation bleeding into rumor, tainting the one pure thing he'd found. Jude's face fell. Hurt flashing. "Then fight it. With me. We go public, your art, the photos, the truth. Show them erasure's the real sin." But Isaac saw it then, the cost. Noah lost to his own shadows. Ethan weaponizing law. Harlan's empire crumbling under scandal. And Jude? Dragged into the vortex. His clean slate smudged. "I can't," he whispered, grabbing his coat. "Not like this." He ran into the snow. Heels abandoned. Toward a reckoning he wasn't ready for. The city swallowed him. White and unforgiving. As the triplets' shared face fractured in his mind. One heel-clad ghost haunting them all. Spring came late to Brooklyn that year. A hesitant bloom of green against the concrete scars. But Isaac felt none of it. Weeks blurred into a haze of avoidance, dodging family calls. Ghosting Jude's texts until they stopped. Burying himself in commissions for zine covers, queer icons in vibrant defiance. Heels towering over shattered mirrors. The brownstone loomed in his periphery. A specter he circled but never entered. Noah had vanished into upstate motels and self-help podcasts. Radio silence broken only by a single postcard, "Finding my feet. Forgive the shadows." N. No return address. No heels in the margins, just emptiness. Ethan tried mediation. Neutral ground at a midtown cafe slick with Wall Street sheen. "He's in therapy," Ethan said over cooling espressos. His suit crisp as his alibis. "Someplace in the Catskills." Says it's helping, unpacking the entanglement, his word. Entanglement. Bloodless. Eradicating the mess of flesh and feeling. Isaac nodded. Tracing the foam heart in his lot. "And Dad? Still playing editor?" Ethan's gaze dropped. "He's softening." Clara showed him the shoebox. "Burned the doctored albums last week." "Symbolic, I guess." The pause. "He wants you back. For Easter." Clean slate. Isaac's laugh scraped raw. "Clean? Like me, wiped blank. But beneath the barbs. A flicker, not forgiveness, but fatigue." The fight had hollowed him. Left him staring at his reflection, that shared face. Now etched with lines only he wore, and wondering if erasure was mutual. If he'd airbrushed his brothers from his heart too. Though, Jude was the wound that wouldn't cauterize. Isaac saw him everywhere. The coffee shop shuttered for Renas. Jude's shift covered by a temp with none of his fire. Protests marching down Bedford without his chance leading the charge. One night, weak-kneed after a gallery crawl in Chelsea, his portraits finally hung. Raw exposures of triplet ghosts, Isaac caved. He showed up at Jude's walk-up in Crown Heights. Heels clicking up the stoop like a heartbeat. Bottle of Merlot clutched like contrition. Jude opened the door in sweats and a faded Bernie tee. Eyes widening then narrowing. 3 months, he said. Not a greeting but a gauntlet. You vanish. Leave me twisting. Family drama trumped us. Isaac's throat closed. It wasn't. I was poison. Noah's mess. The rumors, Becca called me a predator. And you deserved clean. Not my chaos. He thrust the wine forward, heels shifting on the welcome mat. But I miss you. The way you saw me, not the triplet, not the erased one. Just Isaac. Jude's jaw worked, hurt warring with hunger in those dark eyes. He stepped aside, letting Isaac in, the apartment a riot of books and banners, smelling of sage and takeout. They talked for hours. Wine loosening tongues, Jude's own fractures, a foster brother who'd crossed lines once, leaving him wary of tangled loves, Isaac's terror of becoming the villain in his own story. It ended in bed. Tentative, fingers tracing scars, whispers rebuilding bridges, but when Jude murmured, "Stay this time," Isaac did. Heels by the nightstand like sentinels. Easter dawned crisp. Azaleas rioting in the brownstone's window boxes. Isaac arrived in loafers, compromise. Not surrender, Jude's hand in his for the walkover. A united front. The dining room hummed with forced normalcy, Clara's ham glazed golden. Ethan's Lila cooing over deviled eggs. Harlan at the head. Mustache trimmed. Eyes evasive. Bo was there too, thinner. Sober. A new tattoo peeking from his collar, vines. Like Isaac's. Symbolizing roots reclaimed. No mention of the shadows. Just a nod across the table. Heavy with unspoken absolution. The meal dragged. Small talk a minefield, work. With it. Little Harlan's first steps, until Clara cleared her throat. Rising with a photo album. The unedited one. No more hiding, she said. Voice steady for the first time in years. She flipped it open on the lace cloth, triplets whole. Heels and all in the margins of memory. Harlan grunted, but didn't protest. Ethan smiled. Tight but genuine, Noah met Isaac's gaze. A mirror cracked but mending. To family, Clara toasted. Glass raised. The real one. Later. In the attic, sanctuary turned confessional, Noah pulled Isaac aside. Therapy's bullshit and breakthrough, he said. Leaning against the dormer. Turns out I'm just. Not gay. Not straight. Maybe. Or fluid. But the fixation? That was grief. For losing you to Dad's war. He paused. Vulnerability stripping him bare. I'm sorry. For enabling. For wanting what I couldn't have. Isaac's chest ached. Not with revulsion but release. We're triplets. Noah. Shared face. Shared fuck-ups. But we choose now who stays in the frame. The kind that realigns vertebrae. Jude charmed Lila with protest tales. His laugh pulling Ethan into reluctant grins. Harlan watched from his armchair. Scotch untouched. And when Isaac approached, Jude at his side. Hand firm, the old man extended a calloused palm. You're a Hargrove, he rumbled. Voice gruff as gravel. Stubborn as me. Don't make me regret this. Isaac took it. Grip equal. Won't. But no more erasers. Or I walk in these. He kicked off a loafer, revealing the red stiletto beneath, defiance, but laced with grace. The sun slanted gold through the windows as they gathered on the stoop for photos. Clara's insistence. A new album starting fresh. Triplets shoulder to shoulder. Jude's arm around Isaac's waist. Lila snapping away with her iPhone. No crops. No filters, just faces. Flawed and fierce. Under a Brooklyn sky finally blooming. That night, back in Bushwick, Isaac and Jude danced slow in the kitchen, Nina Simone on vinyl, heels clicking soft against tile. You did it, Jude whispered, forehead to Isaac's. Reclaimed your spot. Isaac smiled, tears pricking, not of pain, but possibility. Our spot. Heels and all. In the mirror across the room, their reflections multiplied, not erased, but etched eternal, a family reforged, one defiant step at a time. And somewhere, in the quiet of his heart, Isaac knew the one who wore heels wasn't forgotten. He was the frame that held them all.